You're listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show, where wealth is empowering, purpose is crucial, and high vibes are non-negotiable. And now, here's your host, certified business coach and practical woo strategist, Sarah J. Loureiro.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Uplevel Your Online Business Show. This episode is going to be about really reframing your business and your perspective of what you're capable of so you can truly step into the life of your dreams. And the reason why I wanted to record this is because I realized that 2022 for me has been a really incredible year. And I say that with so much gratitude. And it's not just like, business is going well. It's also because I've finally stepped into everything that I've truly wanted to do within my own life as well. And it's allowed me to do a lot of things that I haven't been able to do previously. Of course, there's also a few things that have kind of come to an end, so to speak, in 2022 that has made it a little bit easier for me to step into more of a life of my dreams. And obviously one of those things is the pandemic. And it's not necessarily over, but in 2022, it's been a lot easier to travel. And another thing is my son is a little bit older, and so he's gotten a little bit more independent. So those are two things that are definitely not just related to my mindset or how my business is running. And I know that each and every one of us has those things, and there are definitely societal issues that we cannot avoid, right? But I really do want to focus this episode on how I've been able to travel so much this year, because I know that a lot of people have been really excited for me. And they've also been asking me these questions and kind of just telling me, I really want your life. I really want to do all of those things. And if you have your own business and if you are working online, you absolutely can do this. But it's going to take a little bit of rewiring in your brain and a little bit of strategy in order to make sure that you can give yourself that gift to travel. So the first thing that I want to touch on here is worthiness. And if I had never really done very specific inner work for myself and done personal development, it wouldn't have mattered how much money I had been able to make in business. I still would have never done the things for myself that I'm currently doing this year. So sometimes it's not actually about money and about how much money you're making or anything like that. It's so much more about how worthy you feel and how truly capable you feel that you are of living a life that truly lights you up. And before diving into personal development, before doing my yoga teacher training, before doing my life coaching and business coaching certifications, I wouldn't spend any money on myself. Even doing any type of holiday would be so difficult for me to do. There's one holiday in specific that I took this year. I actually went to Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada, and I went to Vancouver Island and Victoria in British Columbia, which is, if you don't know Canada, that's the west coast of Canada. It's just north of Seattle. It's absolutely beautiful there. I've always wanted to go. So ever since I was little, I was always like, oh, it looks so nice. We always learned about the geography there. It's like the most moderate climate in all of Canada. I have kind of developed a little bit of an obsession with it. And even when I had money growing up, I could never feel like I could justify going on a trip there. And it took me even a few years of, making good money in my business and telling myself, no, I still can't go. I still can't do it. I still can't do it. I still can't do it. And it wasn't until I started becoming aware of these thoughts that I started to understand that it wasn't actually about the money for me. When I did a lot of the inner work surrounding that specific trip, I realized that the reason why I wasn't doing it is because I didn't think I was worthy of it. I thought it was too much, too extra. And that's exactly why I booked my flight. And that's exactly why I went this year. And it was totally worth it. And I think for so many of us, we realize that the things that we really want to do don't actually make the quote unquote dents in our bank accounts and things like that we think that they will, or they don't actually give us those terrible repercussions that we're so afraid of. And it really is just this whole like constantly trying to shame ourselves or not allow ourselves some gratification. At least it is for me. And so for a really long time in my life, I didn't really feel like I was worth it or that I could do these things. And the very first step into being able to travel more and really being able to live a life out loud is to understand that you are worthy and clean up all of the aspects of yourself and really look inside yourself and identify all of these stories, all of the limiting beliefs, and all of the subconscious trauma that is there deep inside of you that is telling you that you're not worthy, that is probably disguised as all of the excuses that you're making. So the excuses in terms of why you can't invest in your business, why you can't work more in your business, why you can't book that flight, why you can't send that message to that specific person. And the moment that I started to uncover all of this, everything just really, really changed for me. And it's interesting because the moment that I started to uncover all of this wasn't necessarily in 2022. It's been a gradual process. And as I said, because of the pandemic, I haven't really been able to travel that much. And my son, even as a baby, he was a lot more dependent on me. And so I'm also at this very unique point in time where kind of just a lot of things collided. And this year alone, I have about 10 trips planned. And if I look at the amount of flights that I have booked and have been on this year, there are a total of 7 different destinations that I have been or will be flying to this year. And that's not even including the local destinations that I've already done. And even though I'm traveling so much, my income is not decreasing. It's actually increasing this year. And so it's really interesting how all of these things are now starting to collide because I never really thought that any of these things were possible. And I'm sure that a lot of you are feeling that way for yourselves as well. How can you actually do this? How can you, and I don't even travel necessarily as much as, let's say, for example, an influencer who's on Instagram probably does. But this is a lot for me, right? Before this, I probably would have only traveled maybe like 2 times in a year. And yet I'm finding myself taking really, really nice holidays a lot of different points in time this year. And one of the first things, besides the worthiness that you really need to make all of this work out, and that I needed to make all of this work out, was to understand what my team was going to do for me. So understanding how your team in your business can help you with all of these things is really important because obviously you're not going to want to go on a holiday if you're going to work the entire time, right? You don't go to Venice so that you can be working, Monday through Friday, 12 hours a day. Then you wouldn't be able to see Venice. At the same time, though, I am a huge, huge advocate for working while traveling. I find it really helpful for me. And this entire year that I've been traveling, I've been working. And so I have specific days when I travel that I leave for client calls. I've also reworked my business in previous years that I'm not actually spending so much time on client calls, and I'm spending a lot more time on a little bit more of the behind the scenes work with my clients. And so I'm still giving them the same amount of support, but it's at specific times of day that I get to choose, which makes it a lot easier for me to be able to travel, be able to tour a city, let's say, for example. And then once I need to get back to specific things, like let's say, for example, need to get back to my team or get back to my clients, I can do it at designated points in time throughout the day that I know that I'm going to be free. And so I'm still delivering the same quality service. I'm still delivering the exact same amount of time that I would have before. It's just done in a more practical way that really allows me to be able to book flights, get on flights, to be able to, surf in the middle of the day and do so many of these amazing things that I've been able to do. So leaning on your team and starting to implement team in your business, whether your team is posting content for you, or your team is looking over your Facebook ads for you, or your team is helping you target the right people in your business, helping and really implementing the right team members in the right places for your business goes so far. And I've relied so much on my team members in specific travels that I've done this year. And I'm so grateful for them because they've really been able to run the ship. And so when they're able to run the ship when I'm on almost like a part-time holiday, then it becomes so much easier for me to say, okay, all of the time that I'm going to be giving to my business is going to go directly to my clients and directly to helping them get results. Then I'm like really honed in on my zone of genius while still being able to enjoy whatever place that I'm traveling to. And a huge part of my team is childcare. So communicating the things that I need with my husband, him communicating those things with my amazing mother-in-law, who also helps us a lot with Sebastian, communicating things with our nanny who's here. That really helps me to understand, okay, my son's being taken care of. There's nothing to worry about in terms of him if I need to travel without him. And that combined with my business team just makes my entire life so much easier. And I know that for a lot of people, it looks like when people are on holidays, they're literally just kind of on holiday the entire time, but we're really not. And especially myself, even when I went to Canada this year, I always had 3 days a week that I'd reserve for work, which is kind of nice too, because if you think about it, especially if you're visiting friends and family, most people work during the day anyways. So I would plan out these 3 days of work every single week. And then I'd also work in shoulder hours on every other day of the week where I wasn't really doing anything else. And all of that time combined allowed me to continue to run my business and allowed me to continue to grow my business. So really making sure that I was being very disciplined with my time as well. I think that's a really important point. Really focused with my time and also pre-scheduled things. So pre-scheduling things, having a ton of things done in advance can do wonders for your business. And I cannot stress this enough. And so before I went to Canada, I made sure that I had a whole bunch of content batched before I left. And so I'm talking, I would work Saturdays, sometimes I would work Sundays in order to get that out there so that I could fully enjoy myself in Canada. While I was in Canada, I was working the 3 days a week and I was also creating content in the form of videos and photos and things like that and really thinking about my business even when I went to visit specific places. And so that's the reality of a content creator. And most of us who are in online business are content creators. You're constantly thinking about your content, especially when you're on holiday, because you're so inspired to film and create so many more things. So it's not necessarily a downfall, but it is something that you're kind of always thinking about, and that is still work, right? So even if you are at this really, really pretty vineyard, like I was, let's say, for example, or when I was whale watching in Vancouver on Vancouver Island, I was still creating content, right? Like that's still going into my reels, into my videos. And even that experience is a content generating experience. And so I find it really interesting that you can just completely mesh both of those worlds together. And I think one of the big overarching themes with all of this is really deciding on what it is that you want out of your business and out of your life and deciding how you want to run it. And I know it looks like when people are traveling all the time that they're not really working. We're actually working and we're working quite a bit. And I never let more than, like a few hours go by until I respond to a client, let's say, for example. And if there's something that needs to be done in terms of content, if I'm in a hotel room or if I'm right beside a pool, I'm uploading that content, like 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, because I want to make sure that all of that gets done. And if you are disciplined and focused enough to be able to do that, be able to pre-plan and schedule things out, then you can kind of choose, okay, well, what do I want my work week to look like? What are the days that I want to take calls? What are the days that I want to give myself some free time with? And I think one of the most helpful things for me when I went into planning this year and planning all of these trips was I was very diligent with how much time I knew I needed to take off and how much time I knew I needed to put in work in my business so that I can still see it grow. Because this isn't just a sabbatical where I'm not working at all. I'm still working, still dealing with clients, still growing my business, still talking to my team every day. But really deciding what days I'm going to work, what days I'm not going to work has helped so much, because then I'm prepared for it. Then my body's prepared for it. My mind is prepared for it. And I can go into a new trip understanding how much time I'm going to have off, how much time I'm not going to have off, and how much time I'm going to commit to my business. And as long as you're doing that, and as long as you're being really, really diligent with how much time you're spending on your business, how much time you're not, pre-planning all of that kind of stuff, like there's no reason why I wouldn't be able to take even more trips than the ones that I've taken and planned for this year. In fact, maybe 2023 is going to be a whole other ballgame. But it's totally possible once you put the right effort and the right scheduling in it. And it's really cool to see once you actually start manifesting all of the things that you have wanted. And I think that I've wanted this for a while. I don't know too many people, even in the online space, who do this and who are able to go on the holidays that I go on. But when you put in the inspired action and really, really do the work, and I'm saying this because I don't want anyone to think that like, oh, you just need to like believe that you're worthy and book your flight and then go, and then all of your expenses are going to be taken care of, right? You want to make sure that you're upholding your business's reputation. You want to make sure that you are there 110% for your clients, the same way that you would be if you were not buying a whole bunch of flights to a whole bunch of places. And you also want to make sure that you are the leader that your team needs. So it takes a lot of leadership and a lot of discipline to be able to do this. And, and truly also enjoy and appreciate life and like travel the world. But it's totally possible. And it's possible for each and every person who's listening to this. If you have an online business, you just need to create a schedule for your business, and you need to create your offerings for your business that will allow you to do this. And once I started shifting things that way, just became so much more apparent that this was possible. And, don't put a cap on what you can accomplish, because chances are the only thing that's in the way of you getting everything that you want is just optimizing your peak performance, optimizing how you perform consistently on a daily basis, and optimizing how much you can achieve. And there's a lot of inner work there, but once you get that, the sky is the limit. So I hope that this inspired all of you to go out and take inspired action and truly to believe in yourselves and believe in your worthiness. And I cannot wait to hear what types of travels you have planned or that you would love to plan for yourself. Let me know. You can find me on Instagram. You can send me a message about this podcast. My Instagram handle is Sarah without an H, J, Loureiro. So Sarah J. Loureiro. You can hit me up on Instagram if you feel like you have any friends who'd be really inspired by this episode. Feel free to share it with them. It would mean the world to me if you did that. Thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show. If you enjoy our show and would like the show notes and free goodies about how to grow your online coaching business, head over to sarahjloureiro.com for more information. We hope you'll tune in next time.